ಹೈನಿನ್ ಸತ್ತ ಮಿಫದ ಬಲಿತಕ ಕಿ ಮ್ಯಾಗಂಡು ಗೊತ್ತಿಗ್ಗ ತಿಮಾಗೆ ಜಾತಿ ದಿರಿಯುಳ್ಮುಗೆ ಆದಕಾದತಕ ವಶಾಗೆ ಮಾ ಹೌಲಾ ಸೀದಾ ಗುಳುಂ ಹುರಿ ಬಲಿತ ಮಿಗುತುಂ ಕೇಂ ಬೊಯ್ಮುಗೆ ನುರಂಗಳು ಆದತಕ ಹೆಲಿಫೆಲಿವೆಗಳು ಮದುಮಾ ದುಂಫತ್ ಕೆ ಇಸ್ತಿಮಾಲ್ ಕುರುಂ ಅದಿ ರಾಬುಯಿಂ ಫದ ಆದಕಾದತಂ ಹಿಮೆನೆ
Making headlines this hour, Maldives continues to solidify their stance on Palestinian rights. Fisheries Minister reaffirms Sri Lanka's pivotal role as a strategic partner in regional fisheries, cooperation and maritime security. Government awards the contract to develop the harbour in Devadu to MTCC. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to PSM News in English with me, Minha Malroof. Muslims across the world grieves for the plight of their Muslim brothers and sisters. This unity is none more evident than the suffering of the Palestinian people in the hands of the occupying forces of Israel. Maldives, as a 100% Muslim nation, has been a staunch voice against the unlawful occupation of Palestinian lands by Israel and the ongoing atrocities committed against its people. Maldives for decades has been unwavering in its support for justice and the right of the Palestinian people for independence and sovereignty. This voice has grown even louder since President Dr. Mohamed Morsi took office in November 2023. Maldives' efforts in the global arena in defense of Palestine and to put an end to the genocidal acts of Israel has been taken to greater heights. In the past 18 months or so, Maldives has consistently ranked among the most vocal nations on the Palestinian issue, especially the genocide in Gaza, issuing a substantial number of statements across international forums. The significance of these declarations, noting that sovereign pronouncements, irrespective of a nation's size, can command attention on the world stage, and despite its limited geopolitical influence, Maldives' diplomatic efforts have contributed to meaningful shifts in international discourse. Diplomatic efforts have accompanied the legislative move to bar entry for holders of Israeli passports, a resolute and principled stance in the island nation's history. To complement dialogue and policy action, the government had spearheaded a national fundraising campaign to provide financial assistance to Palestinian Muslims. The government's lead has inspired a rise in domestic mobilization through marches, news articles, social media platforms, and grassroots movements to amplify discourse on Palestine. Communities across various islands have engaged in widespread advocacy efforts, ensuring that the issue remains at the forefront of national dialogue. President Dr. Mohamed Morsi, addressing a United Nations conference, focused on environmental challenges faced by small island developing nations, where he chose to lead his remarks by stressing the Palestine issue. His remarks underscores the Maldives' broader commitment to raising awareness of what it describes as an ongoing genocide, reinforcing the country's determination to ensure the issue remains visible in diplomatic arenas. The president has continued to lead by example to both Maldivians and world leaders to utilize each address on any international fora to attract global attention to the plight and suffering of the Palestinian people. Maldives' stance on the rights of Palestine remains steadfast. Maldives has incessantly called for the establishment of an independent Palestinian state based on pre-1967 borders inclusive of East Jerusalem, and has advocated for Palestine's full membership in the United Nations. Through the commitment shown by President Dr. Morsi and his administration, both in diplomacy and policy action, Maldives will continue to stand with its Muslim brothers and sisters in Palestine to deliver their right for independence and sovereignty. Minister of Fisheries and Ocean Resources Ahmad Shyam reaffirms Sri Lanka's pivotal role as a strategic partner in regional fisheries cooperation and maritime security, following high-level discussions held during the ongoing state visit of Sri Lankan President Anurakumara Dissanayake. Minister Shyam outlined the enduring collaboration between the two Indian Ocean neighbors, particularly under the framework of the Indian Ocean Tuna Commission (IOTC). He highlighted joint efforts to promote fisheries development and advance the sustainable management of shared marine resources. The minister also addressed the expansion of bilateral cooperation in area relationship. Emerging sectors such as broader fisheries innovation are the region. The visit by President Dissanayake commenced on Monday and included wide-ranging consultations aimed at deepening bilateral ties. Discussions spanned trade and economic integration alongside strategic planning for development and maritime governance. Government awards the contract to develop the harbour in the Vaddu, Gulf Alif Atoll. The contract was signed on behalf of the government by the Minister of State for Construction, Housing and Infrastructure, Hassan Rashid, while the Deputy Managing Director of MTCC, Ahmad Sharif Abdul Rahman Yusuf, signed on behalf of the state-owned firm. Scope of the project include 60,672 cubic meters, dredging 950,100 meter breakway, 407 meter quay wall, 1,256 meters of revetment, 20 meter long and 2 meter wide bridge, and 1,980 meters of pavement works. The duration of the project, valued at $6.7 million, is 630 days. With a population of around 1,400, the Vaddu is renowned for fishing with a dozen active fishing vessels registered to the island. The space constraints of the island harbour has posed major challenges to accommodate fishing, cargo and passenger vessels. The government believes that the project will alleviate the space constraints of the harbour. A redevelopment of one of the capital's busiest maritime arteries is underway, as Maldives Ports Limited (MPL) initiates a reorganization of Malay's North Harbour. The effort, according to MPL, is expected to triple vessel capacity and substantially reduce docking delays. The overhaul stems from MPL's assumption of operational control in early July over the harbour area extending to the fish market, formerly administered by the Malé City Council. With this transfer, both the commercial port and North Harbour now fall under MPL's purview. Speaking on TVM's Hendunu Henduna morning show, Ahmad Hamdullah Rashid, MPL's Assistant General Manager for North Harbour Management, offered insight into the scope of the expansion. Where the quay wall previously accommodated 32 to 34 vessels, he noted, the reconfigured basin will handle approximately 99 simultaneously. That increased capacity has been organized into discrete berthing zones to facilitate smoother operations. MPL has designed 25 berths for waiting, 54 for cargo and passenger traffic, and 20 for fishing vessels. The cross jetty, Rashid said, has also been repurposed to streamline the offloading of fish before departure. The operational shift is expected to ease persistent congestion, with MPL indicating that vessels previously subject to 5-day waits for quay wall access will now secure berths within 1 to 2 days under the revised system. At present, North Harbour accommodates roughly 130 vessels each month. Alongside the capacity expansion, MPL is introducing a series of infrastructural upgrades aimed at enhancing service delivery and maritime safety. Efforts are underway to zone the harbour by function, while repair work addresses infrastructure that has been in use for 14 years. One of the most critical updates, Rashid elaborated, involves the installation of a new mooring system inside the basin. 10 precast concrete blocks produced in Tilafushi will be submerged and secured via chains to provide stable mooring points. Each block measures 5 feet by 5 feet with a thickness of 1.5 feet and a weight of roughly 5 tons. Plans also include the addition to fuel and water provisioning services alongside expanded storage facilities, Rashid said. As part of MPL's broader efforts to secure the expanded harbour, surveillance cameras and access checkpoints will be introduced. Housing Development Corporation (HDC) opens additional chemical storage and warehouse units for lease from the industrial island Tilafushi. Relocation of chemical warehouses in Male began in the immediate aftermath of the tragic fire incident that occurred on 20th September 2019. HDC has developed two buildings for chemical warehouse rentals in Tilafushi, with 16 more units available for lease, including 14 over 990 acres. HDC has invited interested parties to submit their respective bids by 20th August. The newly developed warehousing facilities are equipped with modern facilities to meet safety standards, using partitions and structures that are fire-resistant for 90 minutes or fire-rated structures along with fire extinguishing systems. CCTV cameras also included, along with security rooms and flood protection systems and other essential services. When the relocation of chemical warehouses from Male began in 2019, there were more than 120 chemical warehouses registered in the city. Under the relocation plan, 54 of the existing chemical warehouses in the city will be relocated to Tilafushi to add to the 34 which are leased during the first round. US President Donald Trump says that a trade deal with India is still not finalized despite months of negotiations. Speaking to reporters aboard Air Force One, Trump described Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi as a friend and praised India as a close partner. He claimed India had helped end a conflict with Pakistan at his request and referenced progress in diplomatic ties.
They're my friends and he's my friend. And, they ended the war with Pakistan at my request, and that was great. And Pakistan did also. We did a lot of great settlements, including the recent one, as you know, with Cambodia, So that was a great one. I think that's been pretty well finalized now, right?
New Delhi plans to resume broader trade negotiations when a U.S. delegation visits in mid-August, with the goal of finalizing a comprehensive bilateral agreement by September or October. Trump has previously expressed dissatisfaction on the high tariffs charged by India on U.S. products. Trump told reporters that he is still waiting to see what happens before progressing the deal further. Trump has hinted at 20 to 25% tariffs on India during his interview with reporters. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer holds a news conference in Stockholm following the conclusion of high-stakes trade talks between the United States and China, in which no major breakthroughs were announced. Scott Bessent said he had told Chinese officials that, given U.S. secondary tariff legislation on sanctioned Russian oil, China could face high tariffs if Beijing continued with its Russian oil purchases. The U.S. and Chinese delegations agreed to seek an extension on their 90-day tariff truce after the 2 days of talks in the Swedish capital. The talks, described as constructive, mark another step in recalibrating economic ties between the world's two largest economies.
We expressed our concern for their purchases of sanctioned Iranian oil, of which they buy about 90%. We also expressed our regret that we believe that they had sold Russia about $15 billion of dual-use technologies, but the overall tone of the meetings was very constructive.
Besant and Greer said discussions had been far-reaching and addressed topics including China's purchases of sanctioned Iranian oil and the acceleration of rare earth magnet supplies. Besant also said he and Sweden's Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson had discussed the trade deal struck by the European Union and the United States, and that the Swedish leader had been supportive of it. Dozens of trucks carrying aid bound for Gaza moves from Egypt for a fourth consecutive day after Israel eased the blockade on the Palestinian enclave. Israel on July 27th announced a halt in military operations for 10 hours a day in parts of Gaza and new aid corridors as Jordan and the United Arab Emirates airdrop supplies into the enclave, where images of starving Palestinians have alarmed the world. A global hunger monitor said on July 29 that a famine scenario was unfolding in the Gaza Strip, with malnutrition soaring, children under 5 dying of hunger-related causes, and humanitarian access severely restricted. The alert by the Integrated Food Security Phase Classification (IPC) raised the prospect that the man-made starvation crisis in Gaza could be formally classified as a famine, in the hope that this might raise the pressure on Israel to let in far more food. With the international furore over Gaza's ordeal growing, Israel announced steps over the weekend to ease aid access. But the UN World Food Programme said on July 29th it was not getting the permissions it needed to deliver enough aid since Israel began humanitarian pauses in warfare on July 27th. Images of emaciated Palestinian children have shocked the world, with Israel's strongest ally, US President Donald Trump, declaring that many people were starving. He promised to set up new food centers. Israel has falsely denied pursuing a policy of starvation. Foreign Minister Gideon Saar said on July 29 that the situation in Gaza was tough, but there were lies about starvation there. Israel cut off aid to Gaza from the start of March, saying it is to pressure Hamas into giving up dozens of hostages it still holds, and reopen aid distribution with new restrictions in May. An analyst says that Britain's move to recognize a Palestinian state comes as some of Israel's closest allies have been horrified by spreading starvation in Gaza. Britain said on July 29th it would recognize a Palestinian state in September unless Israel takes steps to relieve suffering in Gaza. It said it would quickly carry out the formal analysis that could allow it to classify Gaza as in famine. Gaza health authorities have been reporting more and more people dying from hunger-related causes. The total stands at 147, among them 88 children, most of whom died in the last few weeks. Images of emaciated Palestinian children have shocked the world, with Israel's strongest ally, Trump, declaring that many people were starving. He promised to set up new food centers. Israel has denied pursuing a policy of starvation. Director and chief executive of the think tank Chatham House, Bronwyn Maddox, said the move is a symbol for those hoping a Palestinian state is more than a dream. However, she added that UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer may have complicated the move by making recognition of Palestine seem a threat to Israel.
It is a symbol. It's one that doesn't have an immediate impact for the Palestinians, but it does say to Israel that Britain intends that to be the destination, a foreign policy, and is committed to that and wants to rally the international community to that end. And it does give encouragement to those, including Palestinians and the moderates among Palestinians, who are working to that end and still hope that it's more than a dream.
Starmer told his cabinet that Britain would recognize Palestinian statehood at the United Nations General Assembly in September, unless the Israeli government takes substantive steps to end the appalling situation in Gaza, reaches a ceasefire, makes clear there will be no annexation in the West Bank, and commits to a long-term peace process that delivers a two-state solution.
I think the spectacle of what is happening in Gaza has so horrified even Israel's friends that it gives the symbol more force than it would have done at some point in the past. At the same time, I think Keir Starmer has muddled things by using recognition as a threat to Israel when it is a goal of British foreign policy. He might have done better to use other threats, for example, sanctions or arms controls against Israel for the immediate crisis in Gaza to get Israel to change its behavior there.
Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas described Starmer's decision as bold, according to Palestinian state news agency Wafa. Oceans were calm along parts of the California and Hawaii coasts after a powerful magnitude 8.8 earthquake in Russia triggered tsunami scares internationally. In Hawaii, waves of up to 1.7 meters (5.5 feet) impacted the islands before the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center reduced its warning level for the state around 8:50 GMT, saying no major tsunami was expected. Tsunami waves of nearly half a meter were observed as far as California, with smaller ones reaching Canada's province of British Columbia. The U.S. Geological Survey said the earthquake was shallow at a depth of 19.3 kilometers, 12 miles, and centered 119 kilometers, 74 miles east-southeast of Petropavlovsk-Kamchatsky, a city of 165,000. Tsunami alarms sounded in coastal towns across Japan's Pacific coast, and evacuation orders were issued for tens of thousands of people. The U.S. tsunami warning system said waves of more than 3 meters were possible along some coasts of Russia, the northern Hawaiian Islands, and Ecuador, while waves of 1 to 3 meters were possible in countries including Hawaii, Chile, and the Solomon Islands. Manchester United takes to the training pitch ahead of their pre-season match against Bournemouth in the United States' second city. The Red Devils made a winning start to their tour of the US, defeating West Ham 2-1 with the new signing of Matheus Cunha seeing 65 minutes of action. The 26-year-old Brazilian forward joined from Wolves at the start of the transfer window, with United also concluding a deal for Cameroon international Brian Mbeumo from Brentford before travelling stateside. Head coach Ruben Amorim, who took charge in November, guided the 20-time English champions to just 7 wins in 27 league matches as United endured their worst campaign of the Premier League era, finishing 5th in the standings. They also missed the chance to qualify for the Champions League through the back door as they lost the Europa League final 1-0 to Tottenham Hotspur. After Wednesday's match against Bournemouth, United will travel to Atlanta to take on Everton on August 3rd before returning home to face Fiorentina at Old Trafford on August 9th. They begin the new Premier League season against Arsenal on August 17th. Astronomers are tracking a newly spotted object, likely a comet, hailing from outside the solar system, only the third time such an interstellar object has ventured into the Earth's celestial neighborhood. The U.S. Space Agency, NASA, says the interloper named 31 Atlas was first spotted on July 1st by an asteroid terrestrial impact Last Alert System, or ATLAS, telescope located in Rio Huertada, Chile. Astronomers said its unusual trajectory indicated it had ventured from beyond our solar system, but Harvard astrophysicist Avid Liob is making waves in academic circles by suggesting 31 Atlas, due to other unusual characteristics, could be an alien probe on a mission. Journeying at a speed of around 37 miles per second from the direction of the center of the Milky Way galaxy, 31 Atlas is presently located about 264 million miles from Earth. The only other such interstellar visitors previously observed by astronomers were objects called 1L Oumuamua, detected in 2017, and 21 Borisov, recorded in 2019. The Atlas Network is a NASA-funded telescope survey built and operated by the University of Hawaii, with 5 telescopes around the world that scan the night sky continuously to look for objects that could threaten the Earth. Astronomers expect that the newly launched Vera C. Rubin Observatory in Chile, which houses the world's largest digital camera, will discover more objects traversing the solar system from elsewhere in the cosmos. And that's all we have for now. Thank you for watching. Wish you all a pleasant day ahead.